Hi everyone, welcome back to my channel. My name is Gabrielle and I'm a tax manager at one of the big four accounting firms. And today I'll be talking to you guys about 5 reasons why you should choose tax over audit. For more videos like this, make sure to hit that subscribe and like button down below. So you're probably here because you're still trying to decide whether to pursue a career in tax versus audit. Like many of you guys, when I was in 4th year of university, I was going through the exact same conundrum. But looking back after 7 years in public practice experience, I'm happy to say that I'm glad that I chose a career in tax, and I explained to you guys 5 reasons why in this video. The first reason to choose tax is that its hours are more predictable and it's less busier than audit busy season. I mean, don't get me wrong, tax busy season can get pretty busy as well, but from what I hear from audit colleagues, their busy season could get pretty intense in that they will find themselves working past midnight on weekends, and this could go on for weeks or even months. It all really depends on the size of the clients, but because Big Four usually have big public companies as their clients, and public companies have very strict timelines in terms of when to publish their financial statements, you'll find that this will transfer onto the audit team in terms of the work hours and needing to get things done on time. Not to mention the sheer volume of work that goes into auditing a public company and the vast number of transactions that would occur in a company of that size. As for tax, the pressure usually lies in tax return deadlines or even internal deadlines that are set by the company. However, I would say that these deadlines are pretty manageable because the scope of the work itself is not ginormous like an audit where you're verifying that the whole financial statements is reasonable. Tax, you take those financial statements and you take the parts that are relevant for tax purposes and make adjustments. I mean, there could be a couple of late nights, but nowhere near where you're working overtime for weeks and months on end. The second reason to choose tax is the comfort and stability of having a set workspace. I'll be referring to pre-COVID time since I don't know how back to the office will look like after vaccination, but based on what I hear from audit colleagues, most of their work is based in a team environment and is usually at the client site. If you love being around people, this is great for you, and especially if you're an extrovert, but it gives you less flexibility in how you want to get your work done since you're expected to be always in a team environment at the client site for a set number of hours, let's say from 9 to 5. This may or may not take a toll on your energy levels, especially if you're hopping around the city, going to different client sites, or even traveling to less glamorous parts of the world, such as factories or mining sites. On the flip side, for tax, you have a set workspace in the office where you're free to, make it comfy. You could decorate a little bit, have some pictures, you could have your favorite mug, you could even have an extra monitor. You also have an idea of how your day will go, such as a set commute every day, your lunch breaks, when your meetings are going to be, and having that comfort of going to that same workspace every day enables you to sort of plan your day and have a routine that you could stick to. And while you get to collaborate with team members, most of the time you will be working by yourself, and this provides greater flexibility in terms of how you want to plan your day and how you want to get your work done, and even put in some personal stuff like rushing to that yoga class after work. The third reason to choose tax is for its variety of work and its type of clients. For starters, everyone needs to get their taxes done, whether they are individuals or corporations. So you can only imagine the vast variety of types of work and clients you might get. Whereas for audit, the type of clients are more limited since companies that require audit are usually large public companies that have really strict regulations, or for medium to large private companies that require audit for a specific purpose, such as for lenders or investors. Since the type of work you do for audit is very structured, there isn't much flexibility or diversity in how you go about auditing a financial statements because the key purpose is to ensure that it's reasonable for key stakeholders. As for tax, I don't even know where to start because there's so many different types of work out there. The most common type of work you'll probably hear about is corporate tax compliance, and it's basically doing tax returns for any size company, whether they're small, medium, large, whether they're private or public. You can even do personal tax compliance, which is tax returns for individuals, and in the case of Big Four, there are usually high net worth clients. Aside from tax compliance, what I believe is a fun part of tax is tax consulting. And this is basically when clients come to you for advice to minimize their taxes, which ultimately impact their bottom line. There are also other types of tax consulting work, such as for M&A transactions, where you could conduct tax due diligence. There is also restructuring projects where you help the client plan for the most efficient tax structure. The fourth reason to choose a career in tax is the ability to quantify the value provided to your client. An auditor's work on the financial statement is to ensure that it's reasonable, but not necessarily to verify that it's 100% correct. You can imagine how much work auditors would need to do if they have to inspect every single invoice out there. So instead, their work is based on materiality, which is to test something based on whether the amount is below or above a certain threshold. If certain amounts on the financial statements are below this threshold, then it will be considered immaterial. Depending on the size of the client and the company, $1 million could be considered material or immaterial. Ultimately, the financial statements just need to be proven that they're reasonable and that they're in accordance to guidelines such as IFRS and GAAP, and knowledge and familiarity of these guidelines are what define your career. As for tax, your understanding of the Income Tax Act is key. And while not everything in the Income Tax Act is black and white, most often than not it's gray, but based on the position that you take, you complete the tax return for the client and you ultimately come up with a concrete number, whether that is a tax payable position for the client, a tax loss, or even a refund position. As a numbers person, I like the fact that there is a methodical approach to completing a tax return and coming up with a final concrete number for the client. And in the case where you help the client with tax planning, you're even able to quantify on how much you're able to help save them in taxes, which for profitable companies could be quite significant and it could really impact their bottom line. The fifth reason to choose tax is that there will always be demand for tax services despite IT innovations. There is a lot of talk about how IT is impacting the accounting job field, and some are even going as far as to say that it will make accounting jobs obsolete. I definitely feel the effects of technology in our daily work and in the accounting field, but I see it more in a good way than a threat. For one thing, technology is definitely making work a lot more efficient by automating mundane and manual tasks such as bookkeeping. In auditing, I'm starting to see a lot of the samplings that can be pretty manual and repetitive being automated, which was a job that was mainly done by juniors and was probably the cause for the really long hours. In tax, I'm starting to see a lot of the tax compliance get automated. However, when it comes to the Income Tax Act, there are definitely a lot of gray areas that require human expertise to interpret and understand and apply based on the client's unique facts. I personally believe that tax consultants and accountants will always be needed as long as there are changes being made to tax law by the government. A prime example would be the current situation with COVID, where there are constant changes going on with taxes and benefits that require interpretation. So I personally don't believe that IT will make accounting jobs obsolete in the future. They'll actually make our lives a lot better by making processes more efficient and providing us with more time to really spend our efforts on more complex and big issues. So those were 5 reasons why I would choose a career in tax versus audit. I hope you guys found this video useful, and if you guys did, please hit that subscribe and like button down below for more videos like this. And until next time, bye!